My name is Bob Costa from Evansville, Indiana. I've been a shareholder for 4 years. This is my first visit to Omaha, and I went to the Mega Mart, and I actually bought something there, and I tried to pay for it with an American Express card. And they told me, just like the ad, you can't use it here. I hope you both comment on that, or at least one of you. But my real question is that I just stumbled across the idea of intellectual capital and how that might be useful in valuing a business. And I was hoping that one or both of you could clarify that for me and whether that's useful to us as investors or just another academic theory that we'd be better off ignoring.
Yeah. Harvey Golub, who runs American Express and has done a terrific job of running it, has written me about the Furniture Mart as well as about See's. We basically let our managers run their own businesses. So the people at each entity, Borsheim's takes American Express, others of our businesses do too. We let every manager make his decisions. As soon as I start telling the managers that they ought to say take American Express or not take Visa or whatever it may be, at that point they've lost some of the responsibility for their operations and perhaps to an extent even some of the pride that comes from running them. Most of our managers do not need to work for a living. They run their businesses for the same reason Charlie and I run Berkshire. They love doing it. They jump out of bed in the morning because it's exciting to do. And the one thing that would keep the two of us or drive the two of us away from Berkshire is if we were getting second guessed all the time or somebody else was telling us when to swing or not to swing. We would have no interest in running the business. We'd do something else then. And maybe our other managers aren't as extreme as we are in that respect, but we feel they've built successful businesses. They know how to do it. We do allocate the excess capital they generate, but aside from that, we really let them make their own decisions. So we have no company-wide policy on virtually anything that I can think of except send money to Omaha. We're delighted to have American Express give the Furniture Mart the reasons why the Furniture Mart will be better off using American Express. And my guess is they have some very good reasons. But they're going to have to sell them on that. And just like any vendor of anything has to sell each operation. We wouldn't tell the people at See's who to buy the nuts from or who to buy the container from or anything of the sort, how to design the stores or whatever it may be. And that's just the Berkshire philosophy on that. Charlie, you want to comment?
Yeah. Let me shift to intellectual capital. Berkshire has a lot of intellectual capital in these very able executives in the various businesses, and we hope we've got some intellectual capital in the few hundred square feet at headquarters. But we are not in the business of designing oil refineries with armies of engineers or developing software with armies doing complicated accounting work all over the world. We just haven't drifted into that kind of a business. And intellectual capital has gotten to be a new buzzword because we've now developed huge businesses like Microsoft, which really didn't exist on that scale not so very long ago. And so people have suddenly realized, my God, there's really a lot of money in aggregation effects and momentum effects when you get a bunch of really bright people working in the same direction. And that's what's made the concept so fashionable. By and large, we've avoided the field. Again, it's hard for us to understand.
Yeah, we've looked for brains and energy and integrity in people that we work with. And if you get that combination and you're in a decent business, you're going to own the world. And whether you call it intellectual capital or anything, you can stick the names on it. And that's who we try to associate with. I mean, it's a lot easier than doing it yourself. And when we get in our own businesses, you saw that group there at the end of the movie. I mean, that's a huge asset to Berkshire. They talk about getting into accounting for it. That's nonsense in my view. I mean, you don't need to do that, but you should pay for it, and you should pay for it as shareholders. You should pay for it as managers. When we get people whether it's Tom Murphy or Al Zane at Gillette or Roberto Goizueta or Michael Eisner, I mean, those people have added billions of dollars of value. And it's just, that's who we want to be associated with. And we don't want to be associated with the mediocre managers because the difference is huge. But we don't go through an elaborate exercise. We just recognize the people that have got those. We try to recognize the people that have got those qualities. And then if they're in a good business and they've got those qualities, we want to take a big bite.
But take intellectual capital. People think patents, they think copyrights. Patents and copyrights have gotten to be way more valuable as a percentage of the investment assets of the world. And so people are very much more interested in intellectual capital. Think of the great drug companies and how small they were 20 years ago, and how everything they have is basically intellectual capital. It's the few products that really work that have the patents. But by and large, we're not in drug companies.
No, but there are different forms. As Charlie said, there's businesses you sort of think of that way as their whole being intellectual capital. But I would argue that when Roberto Goizueta 15 years ago saw how to make the future of Coke, same product, dramatic, and basically the same system, although it required some changes, but saw how to make that dramatically more valuable by doing a lot of little things over a long period of time and doing them consistently and not getting his eye off the ball. Michael Eisner did the same thing. Disney hadn't gone anyplace, in the 15 years or so after Walt died. Now, we all knew who Mickey Mouse was and everything, but Michael really saw what the future should be, and he still does. And how you can say it's easy when it's all over, but how many people were doing something about it at the time? The place was languishing basically 15 years ago. They had the assets, and to me that's it's different than what Bill Gates does or Andy Grove does, but it's our form of intellectual capital, and it's one we can understand better. Zone, what do we have? 3.